Hey, welcome back everyone to part two where I'm going to actually work out how to calculate the chi-squared. Now I've got my spreadsheet up because this is really the best way to do it. I'll go back to that sort of theory page, which I'll actually save for us. I need to use this bit here. I need to use this chi-squared equals to the sum of FO. Now that's my observed frequency. So that's the data that you actually collect. This is your expected frequency. So you've got to go this one minus that. So the observed minus the expected frequency in a particular column, row, a particular element, and then I square that, and then I divide that by the frequency, the expected frequency. And then what I'm going to do is add up all of those for each cell that I've got, and that gives me my chi-squared. So if you remember, we got our expected matrix from the calculator, and if you remember too, you don't put the little a there like what I did, you just go expected. So you just go vars there. Do you remember doing that? Vars, and then just expected, and bang, up comes the expected matrix. Similarly, if you want the chi-squared value, once you've entered in all that data and gone through menu, stats, two-way tables, the chi-squared two-way tables, then that will come up. So what I've done is I've taken these values, and so that's my expected based on the totals in the end of the column. That's how we get the expected values. Now, do you remember how to get that? That was the row element, the row total times the column total divided by the actual how many people you're dealing with. That gets that element there. Okay, so you will be asked that in an exam to find an expected value, but it's so straightforward. It's just the totals. Do you remember? I'll go here. Yeah, if we go to our total sheet here, see if it's here. Yeah, it's just this number here times by that number divided by that number gives that entry there. So this number times that number there divided by that gives that entry there. This number times that number divided by entry gives that entry there. So that's how we find my expected frequencies. So I think I've got in sheet one, I've put in these expected frequencies from that information we got from the calculator. Okay, and here's my observed. Now, if I've got my pen here, I'm not sure if I can use my pen in Excel. I'll have a go. I'm not sure if I can. So what we need to do is we need to find the sum of bracket FO, my observed, minus FE, my expected, and then I've got to square that, and then I've got to divide that by FE for each cell. Now, this just means I've got to sum up all of the cells, and that's what I'm going to do. So easiest way to do that, I think, is get rid of the pen, stop inking, is come over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put equals in here. So you start with equals, and then I want to go this element here, so my observed, subtract my expected. So I'm going to stick a bracket, probably two brackets because I've got to square it, and then I've got to divide by something. So Excel likes you to use lots of brackets. So I'm going to go this one, 440 minus, subtract that one there, and then I'm going to close that bracket and raise that to the power of 2. So you can see up here that I've just squared that, which is the same as that bit there. So I've squared that. Then I'm going to close that bracket and then divide by FE, which is this one here, and voila, and press enter. Okay, so I've just worked out, and I'll just grab my pen again, if it'll let me. I've just worked out what that is for using that. Yeah, I've used that, and I've used that, and that's given me that value right there. Okay, now I can do that. The great thing about Excel is, of course, you can now just click that on here, and I can work that out for those values here. In other words, I can work it out for that one and that one, that one and that one automatically. And then if I pull the cell down again, it'll work out the whole thing, and I only have to enter in that equation once. Just watch. If I go here, you'll see gem G8 minus M8 all squared divided by M8, which is this one. Subtract that one, all squared divided by that one again, and that's what that entry. Now I've got to add all of these up. So the way I add them up is I just use the sum in spreadsheet. So I'm just going to go equals to, and then you write SUM bracket, and now I've got to go from, I want to sum up that one, yeah, all the way down to this one, yeah, and I'm going to close it off. and so I press enter. That's actually summed. So what that's done, and I'll just grab my pen again, this one here, what that's done is it's taken that entry there and it's added it to that entry. So those two entries there, yeah, they've been added up to give a total of that. Now, what I can do is I can actually pull that across, to stop inking, I can actually pull that whole column across and it'll work out the sum for all of those. Okay, and there we have. So I've summed up 6. So I've summed up those two in here, that in there, that and that in there. Now I can get a grand total sum here. So I'm just going to go equals to, and then again sum. And I want to sum from here, yeah, to here, and press enter. And notice something about that value, 194.3. If we go back to here, my spreadsheet, 194.38. Did we get that? We would have got close, but of course there are rounding errors here that are mounting very. That's to 6 decimal places. The accuracy of this is going to drop off, but let's just check and see if we get. Yeah, very close. I get 8.5. What does the calculator get? 385. Yeah, exactly the same. So that's not bad. Yeah. So the calculator got that value. Well, you know, I got that value as well. I got 194.3846, rounding to that last digit. That's going to give me 194.385. That there, exactly the same as what we got in part 1 of this, where we used the calculator to get that value. Okay. Now, of course, just going back, if your chi-squared calculated value, yeah, is less than your chi-squared significance level value, less than what we call the critical value from the table, then there's not enough evidence to reject the null hypothesis. I must accept the null hypothesis. That's the hardest thing to remember. One other thing just before I go is this p-value here. If we go back up here to the first time I worked out the chi-squared, the two-way chi-squared table here, I always say chi, but it's chi. I don't know, lots of people. Is this p-value here? Now, this p-value is sometimes used in examinations, but rarely. And the p-value works opposite, if you like, to the chi-squared value. If your p-value, yeah, is greater than a particular p-value critical, which you'll be given in the exam, if it's greater, you don't have enough evidence to reject the hypothesis. So you actually have to keep H0. So I might talk a little bit about that more in class when we do past examination questions. But for your IA, I would be just using the chi-squared value straight off here. Okay, that's pretty much all I want to talk about. In the last 2 videos, we've talked about how you could find the chi-squared value using your calculator, how you find the number of degrees of freedoms, how you set up a null hypothesis and an alternative hypothesis, yeah, and then how you actually either reject or accept your null hypothesis or your alternative hypothesis. In this video, we've really just done the mechanics of how to get that chi-squared. Okay, I hope this is useful.